Okay, so this week I'm going to be doing my readings from the garden. It's a beautiful week so far, and I've been spending a lot of time out here. I drew cards on the night of the full moon, which was, or actually it was more like the afternoon, Thursday at my elementary school. And I've kind of been pondering them, and this time I did it earlier than last week. Last week I did it on Tuesday, and I spent mostly all of Tuesday looking into a set, researching a set, and then writing it down about it and then making a video. This time I left myself a lot of time, and that, I mean, for my mind, I'm already going through books that I could research and pages I could write, and I had to kind of stop myself and say, Catherine, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Right? Write down what's meaningful to you, share what's meaningful to you. It's a weekly video and you're not getting paid for it, so it's okay. There's one thing that I realized that I left out last week when I was talking about my experience with tarot, and that is during my second stay in the mental hospital in 2016. I spent 6 weeks at Salt Lake Behavioral Health, and there was a woman who came and stayed there. I don't remember her name, but she said that she couldn't get into the shower, she couldn't mentally get herself to go in there, and she didn't know why. But she had a book on tarot that she loaned to me, and then she ended up leaving while it was still in my possession, and there were some tarot cards left in there. So apparently there's a superstition saying you should not buy your first set of tarot cards. You should either be gifted it or steal it, or find it. I don't know. But once I heard that, I started thinking through it and being like, no. There were tarot cards in my possession that I didn't buy before I bought my first tarot deck. But I mean, I don't know if that's really a superstition that I subscribe to. But just so you know, it's out there. If you're thinking about buying your own tarot decks and you're superstitious, you might want to rethink that and just maybe drop a hint. I'm the kind of friend that would probably buy you a deck. With citrine, we have Four of Cups, Queen of Swords, and Judgment. Okay, so we have citrine. Citrine, I was told, is a good stone for hope. So I'm driving a van I was living in for about a month. So that's always what I associate it with. I always kind of think of Pandora, the box that she opens and all the terrors that are unleashed, but also hope is as well. I've been told that there are some versions of that story where the hope is the worst thing of all the others. So it's an interesting concept to think about, the audacity of hope. So the first card with that is the Four of Cups. This Four of Cups, we've got a cup showing a woman's legs, a spider, a mouse, and a snake, all frightening her. And we have Eros blindfolded with an arrow. A third cup that shows Cygnus, which is Pan's perpetually drunk son. And then we have a man in the desert seeking water. Front we have a mermaid on a sea serpent with her hands, or her head in her hands, and then a youth on a sea serpent holding a snake. Seems excited about life. So some of the main themes I see here. I feel like this card is very pragmatic, particularly the number 4. Is seen as masculine practical, straightforward, pragmatic, so able to accomplish things. With the fear and those creatures, I think a lot into human nature and just nature in general. The shadow side, things that we fear that we don't have full knowledge or control over. I took a Reiki class as part of my massage therapist training, and part of that class is just for today, I will be kind to all life. And so once I started applying those principles to my life, I started saving spiders when I'd find them in my house instead of killing them. Get a cup or a jar and move them to outside. And it gave me a sense of control and also a sense of compassion, even though, I mean, it's a spider, and I don't know how, especially when it's cold outside, how compassionate it is to move them outside versus inside. But I'm not pushing a fat man off the bridge. I'm just picking it up and putting it outside. I'm removing it from the train track and maybe putting it in the direction of another train. I don't know. And then the mouse and the snake. Before I got Lucy, I went on a hike and I saw a mouse on the trail that just didn't run away when I got there. I thought maybe it was injured, but it wasn't, because it was gone when I turned around, unless like something came and ate it real quick. But it was so cute and I loved it so much, and I thought, how will I ever be able to feed a mouse to a snake? They are so cute. And then I started doing that and it was the most natural thing. And you get different people with different perspectives. Some people say frozen is better because it's more humane, but having seen it, I don't know if I agree with that, just because of how quickly the executions I have witnessed have been, and just how natural they've been. I say thank you to the mouse first, so I feel in my heart I'm still honoring that Reiki principle, but I feel like there are so many aspects of this world and the way that we're living that people want to be removed from, and I think killing is one of those things, and there's a disconnect. Another thing was Silenus, Pan's perpetually drunk satyr son, is a lot of his wisdom is quoted in Nietzsche's Birth of the Tragedy. He's an anti-natalist, kind of nihilistic. He says the worst thing that could happen to someone is to be born. And if they are to be born, the best thing that could happen is to die as soon as possible. So, that's one worldview that is, it's out there. There's a lot of wondering what the purpose is sometimes, and a lot of suffering and a desire maybe to find a reason for it or to put a blame on something or someone. And the man in the desert searching for water, I feel like, is part of that as well. I think with the juxtaposition of the mermaid and the youth, both on sea serpents, Nietzsche's quote, "We have art in order not to die of truth," and showing someone their shadow is, or confronting someone with their shadow is also showing them their light. The two sides in the integration, the further that you go into light work, also the further that you go into shadow work. I believe if you're doing it truthfully and correctly, you can't have just good. And I think that some of the most dangerous people that I've met just in the world, not just on spiritual journeys or New Age philosophy waves, but other religious are people who are not aware of their shadow and have not done shadow work and think that they are always working light magic because the shadow exists, whether you're aware of it or not. And the more aware of it, the more you can control it or direct it towards justice instead of cruelty. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had a Southern Belle tell you, "Oh, sweetie, bless your heart," with cruel intention, but that can really like hurt deep levels, worse than somebody being like, "Fuck you, we're not fucking friends." So just awareness, which I think ties in with the second card, which is the Queen of Swords. Here we've got a queen. She's got a swan on her staff. There's the moon. And then behind her, there are images of witches on broomsticks and also Ku Klux Klan. So with this one, I think of grace. Moving through things. I also think a lot about justice with this card, particularly with the witches and Ku Klux Klan members, the women who lost their lives with the witch trials, and also the many people who have been victims of prejudice and the way that our system is not working as one would hope in order to ensure justice for all. Instead is working to create or continue a culture of supremacy. And I think that this card is really asking for the individual to look inside themselves and see where they're at on that journey. Racism is a huge problem. There's also colorism, and it's not that is seen in different cultures as well. There's like I don't know where it started from, but it's not based in truth. A prejudice, just in a lot of cultures, in a lot of minds, that lighter is better. And one thing that I found really helpful that I've done a couple times in my life is the inherent bias test, which I'll try to find a link to and post that there, just saying how your subconscious is linking good with light skin and bad with dark skin. It was interesting to me because I first took that test when I was at Charleston Southern University in South Carolina for a psychology class, and I was, unhappy about my results, as I think everyone is, because no one wants to think that they're prejudiced or that they're racist. We all want to think that we are fair. And then I took it years later when I was in the race and justice clinic at UW Law School, and I was actually biased the opposite way, where I associated dark skin with good and light skin with bad. And I don't know if that's what to make of that right now, but I think that just had a lot to do with the viewpoints that I was surrounding myself with and listening to and subscribing to. Okay. And there's nothing more common than hearing somebody say there's not a racist bone in my body, but it's just, you're a lot more powerful if you know yourself. And then the last card we have, Judgment. So there's an angel, horn, people. And this, I think, relates to finding your power and your decision of how much of your past you want to relate to and how much you want to let go of. You're responsible for the actions that you've made up to this point, but you always have the power to change your direction, your trajectory. and create a new narrative and create a new story. So that's what I got for citrine. With Indian Blanket Jasper, we have the World reversed, Six of Swords reversed, and Eight of Wands. Okay, now I have Indian Blanket Jasper. This one I got in Zion's, a hiking trip. With our first card, we have the World reversed. Got a female figure, world underneath her. She's got a wreath around her, and she's kind of enveloped in a quilt. There's four corners, angel, phoenix, a lion, and a bull. I am a Leo. And I have powerful, I guess, connection with Tauruses that can be antagonistic sometimes because I am a fire sign and they are earth signs. And I love my Taurus friends in spite of some of their personality characteristics that sometimes irk me, and I'm sure they love me in spite of some of my personality characteristics that sometimes irk them. They challenge me to grow in interesting ways. The main thing that I wanted to share with that card is a poem that my friend Charles Whaley wrote that I left on an altar in Costa Rica when I was there. So we reach the world and integrate it all. A story starts to end, tearing down a wall. The end is but a start. The cycle starts anew. Another's left to chase, a fool without a clue. We wonder how we made it, such a wondrous feat. But alas, here we stand. Our journey is complete. And I left on this page. I wish I could turn my camera because I don't know how I'm putting it. Just a little doodle. The Truman Show. It says, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. The Truman Show. When he reaches that point where he breaks out of his own little world and he's going out into the bigger world and he's like broken down so many illusions. So that's just what that made me think about. And then the second card, we have Six of Swords reversed. So here we've got Paul on the road to Damascus. He's fallen off his horse. With the six swords coming together, and there's a light emanating from the center. So I think this is mostly showing a change of heart. If you're familiar with that story, it's told in Acts, and it's where Paul, who was the Pharisee of Pharisees, heard the voice of God, and he converted to Christianity, and he was blind for 3 days and didn't eat for 3 days. But he changed, like a change of heart. And that possibility is in the present. And then the last card, we have the Eight of Wands. This one is straightforward. So there's 8 bowls with grapevines in them. At the bottom, there's a man wooing a woman. The second picture up is the same man and woman fighting. And then up more, there is a young boy and a young girl playing. And with that, I see future, and I see future relationships. In particular, the ebbs and flows they go in. I try my hardest to own that what I'm saying is my truth and may or may not apply to you. If you get something that's worthwhile from it, that's great. If you do not, that's great too. I hope you find what you are looking for somewhere else. But I try really hard, especially with relationships, not to project my own experiences onto others. Especially when I left my first marriage. That was based in a lot of immaturity, and there was a lot of unspoken truth, like lack of communication, lack of give and take in it, and I just had like a bitterness after I left and an unwillingness to commit again that has kind of stayed with me for the most part. Just a bitter honesty, I guess, about where things are and where things could be. The love of my independence. Yeah. I'm not seeing anything else for that one. Indian blanket jasper. Labradorite, we have 10 of Cups reversed, Ace of Swords reversed, and 4 of Wands. Okay. Labradorite. I love these stones. And I just want to throw this out there. If anyone's watching this and knows Shaman, I met him August last year and gave him $100. I sent him a Western Union for labradorite and other rocks because he needed new wheels on his car or something, and he hasn't gotten back to me on that. I'm no longer Facebook friends with him. I'm not trying to be close with him, but I do have screenshots showing that I sent him the money and him telling me that he got the money. So I think it would be fair that he either owes me rocks or he needs to give me my money back. So just throwing that out there. I'm not really trying to mess with it. It's not something that I'm trying to stress about, but it is a thing. It is annoying. So, yeah. First card there, I got 10 of Cups reversed. First cup is turned over, spilled. It's like a city of cups. So there I see a lot of different energies and emotions mixing together and coming together to create a society. Yeah. And then I'm like a little bit anxious now. Just like asking someone for like what I bought them gives me anxiety. I'm just so used to letting things go. Then I've got a Ace of Swords, and it's reversed in this case. There's the Angel of Victory at the top, and then there's Cain and Abel and a yin yang, a serpent, and wings at the top. So with that I see the two sides, integration of shadow, honoring your light and honoring your dark, and holding fear and compassion at the same time, and holding love for yourself and holding love for others in balance. Respect. Respect, I think, is huge thing, that learning to respect yourself and learning to respect other people and what you're worthy of, where your power is. I'm doing the 4 of Wands. This card showed up last week as well. We have 4 different characters. 3 are in primary colors. 1 is in white, showing the alchemical combination of all colors coming together. They're all holding up branches. They all have something different to offer, but they're coming together in cooperation to create something greater than themselves, a rainbow connection. And I see that card with the number 4 again being masculine, pragmatic, letting go of ideals to deal in reality. Because sometimes when we get too idealistic, there's no right way to act because we can always think of a way that someone did something wrong. But when we're basing judgments and empathy and like imagining being that person, there's more space. And I think the more space that we can offer for other people, the more growth there is. I just saw, I mean, I don't want to put judgment on people for judging how they do, because that's part of respect too. Is if I don't like the way someone acts or speaks, I have the right to set a boundary with them. But you know, if you're watching this, you want to hear my opinion. I purportedly, so I think that there's a lot of space when you are able to make space for error and education, even if it's something that you feel like it's not your job and you shouldn't have to. It's really a sweet thing to do and helpful for a lot of people as we learn to relate to each other more, because I think a lot of people have good intentions that get interpreted as evil, and the reason why is because there are vast injustices that aren't being met and aren't being confronted. And so if we can allow room for error, and forgiveness and changing of hearts and balance, then maybe we can get to those like core issues. So that's what I saw for labradorite.